So grief, when you find yourself in it to start with, anyway with great grief, it's hard to focus, hard to think, hard to exist, and maybe too hard to even think about grief itself. There, we just have to, if we can, be and survive and get the help we need from anyone and everyone. Well, if that's where you are right now, maybe the only thing we can sensibly talk about together is what I call disorientation. It's the first of three, well, I call them contexts more than phases. Contexts are like the weather system. It's like what you're in. And disorientation is where we begin. It takes no effort to find yourself in disorientation. That's what happens when someone dies and your world as it was falls apart, changing you into the process. Disorientation, sometimes in a massive scale. Well, if that's the first context, what's the second? And the second I call non-orientation. It's a made-up term to describe a context which is really like an empty space. Emptiness itself would be a good way of capturing the feeling, because the disorientation has reduced somewhat the shock that was off the scale, is still there, but less than it was. And the scale of the loss is clearer. So non-orientation may not feel any better at all. You know what has gone, and now you're in this empty space. And you may find yourself staying there for some time. If that's the second context we can sensibly talk about, what's the third? And the third I call reorientation. It's a movement, and for the first time in grief, it's a movement forward in some way. But not as you were, and your world not as it was, and your relationship with the person who's gone not as it was either. Reorientation. And here I want to convey the idea of orientation in those three different aspects: the dis, the non, and the reorientations. The idea that you can orientate yourself one way and another through this journey. For a journey it can be. And what's going on in the journey? Well, in great grief, we all know you lose someone. They've gone. Whatever we imagine or don't imagine may happen for them afterwards, they've gone. Certainly physically. And with that loss in great grief, you've lost your world as it was. It's changed. It's got a them-sized hole in it. It's fallen apart, your world as it was. Your beliefs about how the world would be and continue to be, your assumptive world, gone. And you, in that, you changed as well. The person you were, gone. Not accessible anymore. So all of that in the disorientation phase amounts to, well, a massive amount of disorientation. And as you realize, which may not be at all apparent early on, the threefold nature of that loss, as you realize all of that, and this is how these three losses map across the orientations, you find yourself in non-orientation. You as you were gone, your world as it was gone, them, they, the deceased gone too. Non-orientation. And yet, the grief journey needn't end there. It is possible to move forward to some kind of reorientation. In that, you are not as you were, but you are. You are existing, you're being here. And you can come to feel that, to be aware of your existence as a different person to the extent that you are experiencing life differently, being different, and even with a different set of values and ideas about who you are, and in time, who you can be. And there may be the key. And your world, the world you're being in, different, sadder, perhaps, more aware of death, sorrow still here, but maybe more complete than your previous sense of the world, where maybe really terrible things don't happen, or didn't happen, or we thought they didn't happen. And your relationship with the deceased. Well, I lost my son, but these days, 4.5 years after he went, I can think of him, feel him, connect with him in my imagination by all means. Send love to my remembrance of him. And I think of him and feel about him more than when he was around. So we journey through these three orientations of these three losses across time. Is this a complete model? No. Will your grief be different with different aspects? Sure. Could this be a helpful overall shape to think about and work with? I think and believe so. Welcome to the Grief Orientations model. Disorientation is the first of the three contexts we're going to look at. In disorientation, well, the word suggests it. We're disorientated. Our world has changed. Ourselves too. We're encountering this loss. When my son died, the shock was off the scale. This can't be. It can't have happened. Was somehow where my head was, as though I was in a film set, but with the wrong script. It was just a mistake. And I had to start the day again to wind back the tape. This was all a huge error, was somehow what my mind was saying. At the same time, somehow, it seemed to be happening. It seemed to have been happening. My son had gone. I'm calling out to him, George, George, George. I'm trying to reach him, trying to pull him back. It was hell. That was what disorientation was like. Hell. Like a car crash, like a bomb exploding. And then I can't hear anything, see anything, dust everywhere, like in a film when a bomb goes off and survivors are lying on the floor. Something like that, a bomb going off, when I heard my son had died, when I was told he had died. Well, that disorientation phase, which I can still bring to mind, I can pull back again, was about the worst. And if you're anywhere near that yourself, well, now may be the right time to say, I'm so sorry for your loss. And in this time, when we're in this space, our ability to think, to communicate, to feel even anything other than this awful dread is very limited. So, what can we do when we're in disorientation? We can be with people who can be with us. And that's a hard one in itself. We can ask for help. I'm struggling. I need help. What do you need help with? I don't know, but just help. We were very lucky. One or two people just brought food. One or two just came and stayed with us, more visited, did what they could. So when you're in disorientation, be as kind as you possibly can to yourself. Look after yourself as much as you can, and that won't be very much. And ask for help and get help. When you're with someone who's in disorientation, there may be no words, but you might be able to be with them and be with them in a way that accepts that they are in pain, and you're not going to be able to fix it or really do anything about it at all. But you can just be with them. Someone was telling me about the loss of her son, and afterwards I had no words, but I held her arm. It seemed the fitting thing to do while she cried. All we can do in disorientation is look after ourselves and be looked after. Sleep may even be impossible. I kept waking into the nightmare. Some point later, falling asleep and then waking into the nightmare again. It was the undoability, the irretrievability, the irreversibility of what had happened. So final, so awful, and nothing could be done. It may sound like there isn't a lot to be done here, but connecting and being real and not making up ideas like, you'll get better, you'll never get over it. It's awful. It's awful, you can probably say, because it is awful. When I'm with people who are in disorientation, they may say their world stopped. They've gone themselves. They're beyond anything. They're destroyed. And I can offer something different. I can offer that the person you were has gone. And when people hear that, they say, yes, that's it, or something like that. And when they say my world has stopped, I can offer something a little more framed. Your world as it was has gone. For these are truths, and we may need to know these truths in order to start moving in any way on our journey. Truths that aren't quite as bad as I'm destroyed. My world has stopped, not quite as bad. Also in this phase, in relation to our relationship with the one who's gone. Acknowledging that loss, the first of the three that we're focused on in grief orientations, to talk with them, the one who's gone, as though they're there, irrespective of whether they hear anything at all. How would we know? But talk with them, to write to them, to be thankful in any way we can for what they did bring, what they offered when they were in this life, whatever we can do there, just to, and last thought, when we're with people who are in disorientation, whatever they're saying, if you can be so present and so quiet that they're able to speak with you, whatever they're saying, maybe what is happening for them. No contradictions, no arguments, no telling them they can be different, but just being present. Non-orientation is the second context in our map of grief in the grief orientations model. What is different about non-orientation? Well, in non-orientation, we're aware of what's been lost. We know it, we feel it, and the shock that characterized disorientation has diminished. It's still there to some extent, but it's not the predominant feeling or context. What is in non-orientation is a feeling of emptiness, of total loss. If this doesn't sound good, it's because it really isn't. And yet it may be a necessary step. So in non-orientation, we're not reaching back into the past, which somehow unconsciously we're doing in disorientation, where the present's awful, but still we can be in the past in our imagination, and it will tangle itself up with the present. So it's the they can't be gone, they're gone, they can't be gone, they're gone, they can't be gone, they're gone dance, if you will. Characteristic of that in non-orientation, they've gone. And our world is gone. I realized that I imagined that my family, we'd all be fine. We'd all come through. It'd be okay. That was my song, unconsciously, if not consciously. I believed it would work out. With my son's death, that set of assumptions about the world was shown to be false. Well, if we look at the media and so on, we will read of terrible things that have happened to other people. But I didn't think they would happen to me, to us. And now they have. So my optimistic worldview shattered. And my who I was, which in part was this believer that things would be okay, that, we can make a difference and move forward together, that shattered like a vase into pieces on the ground with my son's death. And him gone too, him who I'll never hug again, never have a laugh with again, never go on holiday with again. All of that gone, everything empty. In non-orientation, I didn't want to live. I didn't want to die. I didn't want anything. Nothing seemed to make a difference. Nothing seemed to be important compared with my son's death. So just stuck, as it were, in the bottom of a pit with no way out. No way out and no wish for a way out, because it's the way it is. All right, it's changed a bit, less shock, and the awfulness is now more obvious. What's the journey in non-orientation? Well, it may be different for each of us, but let's look at the three losses and see how our perspective might shift. Well, so the idea I had that everything would work out and we'd be fine, it had felt like a good idea. I believed it. I lived it. Believing it in some ways made life simpler. Maybe it even made it better. I was more confident. But in non-orientation, I came to realize that it simply was not true now, and it had never been true. In a sense, it was never guaranteed to be true. It was just a story I'd been telling myself about my life, about our lives. Just a story. Nothing more than that. So in that respect, what had I lost? I'd lost a story about the world. And now in non-orientation, I had no story. Well, things will work out except they don't work out. So life will go on except it won't go on. No coherent story, no narrative. And without a narrative, for me, where was I? Well, the old me gone. I mean, to say I was shaken is a massive under-description. Broken is closer. But the broken me was different. Sadder, for so much sorrow, less loud, less confident, but more aware of life and death, which frames life. So again, there's a change, and I could begin to see the changes that had happened in me, and to see that the changes that had happened in me weren't simply all for the worse. They were different, they were nuanced. There was some kind of range of things going on to be explored. And although I'd lost my son, I could talk with him, I could connect with him, I could think about him, I could feel him, even in my space of emptiness. So it became, in non-orientation, less fixed, less I've lost everything, and more, well, I've still lost everything, actually, but I can be with that loss. That may not feel like much, to be with that loss, those losses, but I think it's huge. And to be with them, I'm not sure that's the same as acceptance, but it's of that flavor. To be with them may not feel any better at all, but may be a huge step. And that's non-orientation, and it's not the end, because as we hold that space over time, something may begin to arise. Reorientation is the third context we're going to look at following disorientation and non-orientation. I say following, but there's no guarantee that we'll get to reorientation. Some of us get stuck earlier in the process in non-orientation and don't easily find a way out of it. There is no easy way out of it. But we're going to look a little bit more at the processes, some processes that may be involved and may enable us to move into reorientation. It has to be reorientation because we're not the same. Our world's not the same, and our relationship with who we've lost is not the same. After all, they've gone, physically at least. So, how do we get into reorientation? As far as I've come to know it and sense it, we have to get to a place where we can recognize that our world, as it was, really has gone. We who we were really have gone, and the person we've lost really has gone. And we have to be, well, more or less okay with that. We'll never really be okay with it. But maybe a better way of thinking about it would be to go, we know it has gone, it's all gone, and we're in this other space. So we could get to a place where we can say something like this: even though the person I was has gone, I can accept the person I am now. Even though my world as it was has gone, I can accept my world as it is now. And even though my relationship with the person I've lost, as it was, has gone, I can accept the relationship I have with them now, which perhaps could even be one of love, not knowing whether they feel any of the love that we may allow ourselves to have for them. So a new self in a new world with a new relationship with the person we've lost may not sound so bad. Well, you see, in this terrible grief thing, we've come to know more about life and death. We've come to know more about ourselves. We've come to know that our story of the world was just a story. And we may now be in a space where we can create a new story. I think of human beings as having a need for stories. I certainly do. By a story, I don't mean a fiction, but just an idea about who we can be. I've always wanted, tried, often not succeeded, to make a difference in the world. And I can now do things that I couldn't before. For example, I can be with people who are in pain, not turn away from it. I can be with my own pain and not turn away from it. I can even be with the world's pain. I know it's there, and not turn away from it. And turning away was what I used to do when I encountered suffering, turning away in the sense that, well, let's make it better. It wasn't the worst instinct in the world, but it doesn't work. It's not appropriate when there's really great pain. I can even be with people who are really struggling in life. People like my son, though I didn't even know it at the time. So through great grief, some of our make-believe, my make-believe about the world, it'll all be fine, everything's, good, blown away. And a deeper reality is felt, is connected with. It's awful. I wouldn't wish a great grief journey on anyone. But as we make it, as we find our way somehow through these processes, we are more capable in ways we weren't before. And this is quite something. And because of that, we may be able to take on activities we wouldn't have done before. our values, our sense of who we are and what we're about may be very different. We may even come to feel much more than before the presence of love in every moment. For that is how it seems to me now. Not a happy, happy love, but love, like the love I feel for my son, and the love that is present all of the time. So if you're in disorientation still, this may seem to be nonsense, and anyway so far out of reach as to be unthinkable. And if that's where you are again, I'm so sorry for your loss. But if and when you've made it into that non-orientation and then into this space for reorientation, what could you be thinking about now? How have you changed? What doors could open? How could you serve your fellow human beings? How could you serve life? How could you serve whatever you believe in more fully now, having come to know so much more? So, my son George died by his own hand. I didn't see it coming. I'd visited him a couple of times in the preceding weeks, and I just didn't see it. So when he died, yes, the shock was off the scale. And there was so much more. A feeling of colossal failure on my part. Not exactly blame, not blaming him, not blaming me, but a feeling of colossal failure on my part. A feeling that I should have done more, that I could have done more. And it's true. I could have done more. I could have approached our last two meetings. I had no idea they would be our last two meetings. I could have approached them differently. And that might have made a difference. And I will never know if it would have. When we lose someone to suicide, the grief has an extraordinary sharpness that cuts into us, that really blows everything away. Well, our sense of the world and who we were and our reason for going on living. Well, they didn't see a commanding, an overall, a convincing reason for going on living. And now what is our reason? So loss by suicide, incredibly hard. I think even more so here than elsewhere, the grief orientations model fits. We've lost our world as it was. A hole has been blown in it. It's been blown up. Ourselves as we were, my story in relation to that, I'm this father of him and so on. Gone, gone, gone. Me as I was, gone. And my son, gone. So the disorientation, even further off the scale. Non-orientation, we get lost in that for some time. And I'm suggesting that non-orientation may be unavoidable if we're going to find our way to any sort of reorientation. I so wish my son hadn't died. I would give anything and everything I've learned, everything I would give my life in a heartbeat for my son to be back here and okay. That is not to be. I'm in this other space. And after some years, it wasn't there at the beginning. It certainly wasn't there in the first year. And time varies for everyone, of course. But the best part of 5 years on, I can be even though I've experienced this loss in this way. I think sadder, well, knowing sorrow more, but also now joy in my life too. And I can think of George and recently begin to feel uplifted even as I think about him. And life has a beautiful poignancy that it didn't have before. So again, I so wish this hasn't happened. But it has brought me to a space where I can be helpful in other ways, where my knowledge of pain can somehow make a difference in myself. And sometime, someday, maybe you're there, maybe way off in the future, your ability to be with pain because you have pain will be helpful too. I think it's one of the biggest challenges in the world that we, me as I was, we have been unable to face pain, and then we deny it, and then we are in complete shock when it comes our way. So I want us all to find, to be aware of a reason for staying, a reason for being. And the most commanding reason I've been able to find is to make a difference in the lives of others. Thank you for exploring grief, for exploring your grief, for exploring grief orientations with me. I'm not saying every aspect of it will fit you perfectly. Some of it may be in your future and to come. Some of it may never be. I hope it will provide some reference points where you can go, okay, that yes, that, and not that. That's fine. Think of grief orientations, as you will, as something of a map across those three contexts for those three losses. Pause and consider where you are. Which of those losses are bigger for you? Where are you in relation to each of them? How disorientated are you these days? Is it still as much as it ever was? Has it lessened a bit? If you're relating where you are now to non-orientation, know that non-orientation is just a context, a predominant context. And if you can be there and stay there for a bit, it actually can have something like the effect of a vacuum, where as you let go of the past, something new begins, some new possibilities begin, gradually, slowly, just to emerge. So this journey, this grief journey, this great grief journey, is something I would not wish on you or anyone. And yet it is here. And it does come for us. And when it's this kind of unexpected and multi-leveled loss, it's the hardest thing to be with, let alone to find any way through. I want you to know that for almost all of us, if not all of us, there is the possibility of some way through. This may seem impossible in the early days, it certainly did to me. But there is, because life is change. It keeps moving. For every birth, there will be a life, and in the life there will be change, and for every birth there will be a death. Well, we all know this intellectually, but those of us who experience great grief know it in a different way. It's visceral. It's like right here. And so in our lives, as we're still here, what can we do? How can we be? How can we serve with new set of priorities is where we can find ourselves moving into grief orientation, where we're able to shift from our terrible wounds from ourselves, shift from ourselves to the priority of others, others, and of service, and theirs, the grief journey.